Let me ask you something. What if just 6 months from now your life looked nothing like it does today? What if the pain, the doubt, the fear, the limits were all replaced with power, purpose, and progress? You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're just one decision away from a completely different life. But it won't happen by chance. It will happen by change. Give me your focus for the next few minutes. Not for me, you. Because this might be the moment that splits your life into life before and after. 6 months, that's all it takes. Let's go. When you look at your life right now, ask yourself this. Are you living at true potential, or are you just surviving? Because real transformation doesn't begin with wishing, hoping, or planning. It begins with a decision. A radical, no turning back, burn the boats kind of decision. The kind of decision where you stop making excuses, you stop waiting for the perfect moment, and you decide right now, that enough is enough. That this version of you, this chapter of your life is no longer acceptable. That you are ready to become more. Because nothing changes until you change. 6 months of your life, 180 days. That's all it takes to make a quantum leap if you're serious. If you're come hungry, people talk about change like it's this magical process. But the truth is, change is messy, it's painful, and it's uncomfortable. But it's also necessary. It's powerful. And it's possible for anyone who decides that they are done living below their standards. You don't need another year of suffering. You don't need to wait for January 1st or for someone to give you permission. You just need to get real with yourself. Look in the mirror and say, this is not how my story ends. Because your story isn't finished. It's just waiting for the author, you to grab the pen and write the next chapter with passion and precision. Here's the truth of most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they never truly commit. They dabble. But they don't decide, and a real decision means you cut off every other possibility. You don't dip your toe in. You jump in full force. You do whatever it takes. You show up on the days when it's hard. You push through the moments you want to quit. That's the difference between people who change their lives and people who stay stuck in cycles. The ones who changed didn't wait to feel ready. They just decided it was time to level up, no matter how uncomfortable it got. So if you're serious, if you're truly ready to reinvent your life, you have to start by making a decision that is stronger than your fear, stronger than your past, stronger than your doubts. You've got to look your old story in the face. The story that says you're not enough, that you failed too many times, that you're too late. And you've got to declare that that story is over right now. Because in 6 months, with laser focus and relentless action, you can rewrite that story into something powerful, something inspiring, something real. But you can't tiptoe into this process. You've got to step up, take ownership, and say, this is my time. Everything changes the moment you get hungry enough. The moment you decide that you are no longer available for average, that you are no longer going to be a prisoner of your past, that you are done negotiating with procrastination, with fear, with excuses. That's when the breakthrough happens. Not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel like it, but when you finally say, I'm done living small. In that moment, you unlock a level of power within yourself that you forgot was even there. And once that fire is lit, there's no stopping you. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. This isn't easy. But it's worth it. You're going to have to confront some hard truths. You're going to have to break patterns, rewire beliefs, and stretch further than you ever have before. But the reward is waking up 6 months from now with clarity, energy, pride, and momentum. It's looking back and realizing that the decision you made today was the turning point, the beginning of your rise. Because nothing is more powerful than a human being who decides that their pain will become their fuel, that their past will become their power, and that their future is worth fighting for. So I ask you, are you ready to draw the line in the sand? Are you ready to stop tolerating what you've outgrown? Are you ready to become the version of yourself you were always meant to be? If the answer is yes, then don't just nod. Act, commit, and give yourself the next 6 months like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. And if you truly go all in, if you truly give your heart, your mind, your soul to this process, 6 months from now, your friends, your family, and even you won't recognize the person you've become. That's the power of a radical decision. And that power is already in you. Let's unlock it. People wait around for motivation like it's this magical force that's going to show up, knock on their door, and carry them to success. But motivation is fleeting, it's emotional, it's unreliable. You can't build your future on a feeling that comes and goes. If you want to transform your life in 6 months, you have to make discipline your best friend. Discipline is what kicks in when motivation fades. Discipline is what carries you through the days when you're tired, frustrated, uncertain, or just not in the mood. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It demands that you show up anyway. And that's the secret that winners understand. They don't always want to do the work. They've just built the muscle of doing it anyway. It's not about hype or energy. It's about consistency. Every day, wake up and follow through on the habits, the routine actions that compound into greatness. Discipline isn't a punishment. It's a path to freedom. Because when you do the hard things now, life gets easier later. But when you avoid the hard things, life will keep getting harder. In 6 months, if you make discipline the foundation of your decisions, you will shock yourself with what you're capable of. You see, people think freedom comes from doing what you want when you want. That's not freedom. That's chaos. Real freedom is earning the right to live on your terms, and you earn it through discipline, through structure, through intention. Freedom comes when your finances are handled, your body is strong, your mind is sharp, and your relationships are thriving. But you don't get there by chance. You get there by training yourself like a warrior. You get there by showing even up on the rainy days, the tired days, the uninspired days. And that's why discipline is the real shortcut, because it skips the drama and goes straight to results. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in 6 months. But 6 months of locked in, focus, disciplined action. That's life-changing. That's enough time to turn a broken business into a booming one. That's enough time to shed pounds, build muscle, and completely reset your health. That's enough time to develop a new skill, master a craft, build a habit so strong it becomes who you are. But it only happens if you trade your comfort for commitment. If you stop waiting to feel like doing the work and start doing it because you made a decision to rise. Look, I get it. We all have days where we want to sleep in, skip the workout, ignore the call, delay the project. But those are the days that shape us. Not the days when everything feels great, but the days when your only fuel is your purpose, your vision, your drive. If you can show up on those days, if you can push forward when no one's watching and no one's cheering, that's when you become dangerous. That's when you start becoming the person others look up to. And in 6 months, you will thank yourself every single day you chose discipline over comfort. It starts small, waking up when you said you would, turning off distractions when it's time to focus, saying no to what doesn't serve you, saying yes to the habits that push you forward. You stack one win on top of another until it becomes who you are. And when you do this long enough, your brain rewires. Your identity shifts. You stop saying, I'm trying to be disciplined. And you start saying, I am disciplined. That's when the game changes. That's when you become unstoppable. Not because you're more talented than everyone else, but because you're more consistent, more relentless, more decided. Let me be clear, discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. You're going to mess up. You're going to have off days. That's part of the process. But disciplined people don't quit. They reset. They don't spiral. They bounce back. One bad moment doesn't ruin the mission. They've trained their minds to stay locked in on the goal. That's what you're building over the next 6 months. A version of you that doesn't need hype to follow through. A version of you that knows how to lead yourself every single day. So if you're waiting for motivation to get started, stop. Because motivation might spark the fire, but only discipline keeps it burning. And 6 months from now, when you look back at the version of you who made the choice to be consistent, to follow through, to live with integrity, you'll realize that everything changed not because you were perfect, but because you were disciplined. You kept showing up, you kept choosing growth, and that made all the difference. So decide now, commit now, build the discipline, and your life will follow. If you want to change your life in 6 months, one of the most important decisions you'll ever make is deciding who you allow into your world. Because your environment is not neutral. It is shaping you every single day. The people you surround yourself with are either pulling you forward or dragging you down. They're either challenging you to grow or validating your excuses. You can't expect to create a new future while staying connected to the same patterns, the same energy, the same small-minded conversations. Proximity is power. Who you're around is who you become. If you want to raise your life, you must raise your standards for who gets access to you. Think about it. Energy is contagious. Beliefs are contagious. Attitudes are contagious. You spend time around people who complain, who settle, who play the victim. You will unconsciously absorb that energy. You'll start thinking like them, speaking like them, making choices like them. Not because you mean to, because we are wired to mirror the people around us. Now, flip that. Imagine being in a room full of people who are driven, focused, solution-oriented, hungry for growth. People who make no excuses, who hold you accountable, who see your potential even when you forget it. That kind of environment forces you to level up. It pushes you past your limits. It inspires you to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. That's the power of proximity. It's not just about networking. It's about immersion. You need to be around people who are living the kind of life you want to create. People who are operating at a higher frequency. People who won't let you settle. That means you may need to make some tough decisions. You may need to step away from the circles that keep you small. That doesn't mean you stop loving those people. It means you stop letting them influence your destiny. Because you can't climb if you're always surrounded by anchors. And you can't lead if you're always shrinking to fit in. This is where most people struggle. They fear being alone more than they fear staying stuck. But I'll tell you something, 6 months of intentional solitude is more powerful than 6 years of toxic company. If you have to walk alone for a while to find your tribe, do it. Use that time to get clear, to build your strength, to reconnect with your purpose. Because once you align yourself with the right people, everything accelerates. Growth becomes the standard. Discipline becomes natural. You rise just by being in the room. And it's not just about mentors or peers. It's about what you consume daily. Your proximity is also your media, your books, your podcasts, your thoughts. If all you're feeding your mind is negativity, distractions, and noise, don't be surprised when your results reflect that. You've got to curate your input like your life depends on it. Because it does. Start listening to voices that challenge you to become better. Start reading words that light a fire in you. Start speaking life into your own future. When you do that consistently, your energy shifts, your mindset sharpens, your entire frequency elevates. You have to remember, you are always training your mind. Every conversation, every piece of content, every environment is either reinforcing your limitations or reinforcing your possibilities. And when you make the choice to surround yourself with people and inputs that reflect the future you want, not the past you're escaping, you build a force field around your growth. You become unshakable. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop chasing validation and start walking in purpose. So ask yourself right now, who's in your ear? Who are you giving your time, your focus, your energy to? Are they helping you grow or keeping you stuck? Are they calling you out when you drift or enabling your old patterns? You have 6 months to change everything. That's not a long time, but it's enough to build momentum, enough to rewire your brain, enough to shift the entire trajectory of your life. But it won't happen if you're still trying to carry people who refuse to walk. You've got to be bold enough to protect your future, even if it means disappointing some people in your present. And when you start surrounding yourself with winners, with leaders, with visionaries, something powerful happens. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. You stop doubting yourself and start backing yourself. You begin to operate at a whole new level, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. That's what 6 months of powerful proximity will do. It'll break your old patterns. It'll awaken your greatness. And it'll prove to you that you were never stuck. You were just in the wrong room. So choose your circle wisely. Your future depends on it. Transformation doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do over and over again. It's not intensity that changes your life. It's consistency. Anyone can get excited for a few days. Anyone can hustle for a week or grind for a month. But if you want real, lasting change in 6 months, you have to master repetition. You have to become obsessed with the daily rituals, the small disciplines, the things that seem insignificant in the moment but build massive momentum over time. What you do repeatedly, you become. If you want to become unshakable, unstoppable, unrecognizable from who you were 6 months ago, you have to embrace the power of repetition. Repetition builds habits, and habits shape your identity. Every time you follow through, every time you do what you said you do, whether you feel like it or not, you cast a vote for the future version of yourself. One workout doesn't change your body. 1 hour of focus doesn't build a business. 1 day of clean eating doesn't transform your energy, but one after another, repeated day in and day out, that's where the magic happens. That's how you rewire your brain. That's how you develop a new baseline, a new standard, a new level of excellence. The reason most people fail isn't because they're not capable. It's because they keep starting over. They stop and go up and down, on and off. They rely on emotion instead of structure. But when you anchor your life in repetition, you eliminate the need to negotiate every day. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? You just do it because it's who you are now. You create rituals that support your goals. You build systems that pull you forward even on the days when motivation disappears. And slowly, you become the kind of person who follows through, no matter what. The mind is a muscle, and repetition is how you train it. Every time you show up for yourself, you're proving to your subconscious that you are trustworthy, that your word means something, that you are no longer living from your emotions, but from your commitments. Over time, that inner trust becomes confidence. That confidence becomes clarity. And that clarity becomes momentum. Momentum is built in the trenches of repetition. It's built in the gym when one is watching. It's built at 5 a.m. when the alarm goes off and you get up anyway. It's built in the late night grind, the quick journaling, the focused hours no one sees, but everyone eventually notices. People are looking for quick results, but success is a game of stacking bricks, not finding shortcuts. Every repetition is a brick. And at first, it may not look like much, but brick by brick, day by day, you start building something real, something solid. And eventually, the wall is so high, the foundation so strong, that nothing can knock it down. That's what 6 months of committed repetition will do. It will make your new habits automatic, your discipline effortless, your goals inevitable. You've got to be willing to be bored. Repetition isn't always sexy. It's not always exciting, but it is effective. Champions train in silence. Legends master the basics. Winners fall in love with the grind. They understand that excellence isn't found in what you do occasionally. It's found in what you do consistently. If you can master your mornings, master your meals, master your focus, and repeat that every single day, you will become a different person. And it won't even feel hard anymore. It will feel natural, because that's what repetition does. It makes greatness your default setting. So the question isn't, can I do this for 6 months? The question is, am I willing to do what's necessary every single day without skipping, without excuses, without letting my emotions run the show? If the answer is yes, then I promise you, 6 months from now, you'll be standing in a life you once dreamed about. You'll be living in the results of your discipline. You'll be walking with a different energy, a different mindset, a different level of certainty, because you didn't hope for it. You didn't wish for it. You worked for it. You repeated for it. You became it. And the best part, once you've done it for 6 months, you'll know how to do it again and again and again. You'll never be the same. You'll have proof you're capable, proof that your habits work, proof that repetition is the master key. So don't chase intensity. Chase consistency. Stack the reps. Build the muscle. Show up daily and watch your life transform, one repetition at a time.